Hello everyone, welcome. Today we are going to discuss chapter 7 Women and Development. This is an essay written by Leela Dube and we are going to discuss its summary. So, let's get started. After the Second World War, that was between 1939 to 45, there came a big change in the political and social system of mankind. In the fifth decade, the concept of liberty gained much ground and a lot of dependencies achieved freedom. The decade of 60s was decade of development. There was a great hue and cry for industrialization, but in the decade of 70s arose a voice for gender equality. That is, the status of women in the society be raised and put at par with the status of men. So that is gender equality. For this, in certain countries, a well-planned agitation was made. One of its major manifestation was a new gender assertion by women, who constituted one half of the world. Feminism emerged as a powerful movement which could not be wished away or ridiculed. The basic demand of the feminist was simple: equality. The movement sought to eradicate the scaly prejudices that had immobilized women in several spheres of activity. Now, what is feminism? Feminism is about all genders having equal rights and opportunities. It's about respecting diverse women's experiences, identities, knowledge, and strength, and striving to empower all women to realize their full rights. While Indian social reform movement of 19th and early 20th century touched only a fringe of female population belonging to middle and upper strata of society, participation of women on the massive scale in freedom struggle led by Mahatma Gandhi brought them out of their seclusion. It helped in loosening and to some extent removing many social constraints and paved the way towards granting them political equality in the constitution and in other formal structures framework of independent India. Actually, the problem of women's emancipation too lead in the seventh decade. Now, this problem was touched in process of development and research. It was not confined to India only, as it became a global problem. Women's status and problems came to occupy an important place in research and action programs. This undoubtedly was part of the global trend. In India, as elsewhere, there is a vocal minority which professes to speak for the silent majority of women. It is hardly necessary to emphasize that one cannot set any goals that would be equally meaningful to all women, for where classes and class interests operate in society. Actually, speaking there, it not merely a set of rules which can be made for women, which would be useful and helpful to all sorts of women. The healthier and the most fruitful approach to the women problem is to consider their sex equal to male sex. For this, focus should be self on the following things to start the work initially. In this regard, we shall focus our attention on three main themes. First, on the necessity of an adequate database covering the status and role of women to ensure more relevant and meaningful development planning for them. Second, on how development negatively affects women. Third, on the relevance of social structure and cultural factors insofar as they concern women in general development of society. The quality of development planning and its implementation depend on an adequate database. and efficient information system. Women have suffered in this respect because of a number of factors. Census methodology had failed to record much of women's work that goes into household economy. Another difficulty has been regarding the category of head of the household in this census. Even when a woman is responsible for running the household and taking decisions, it may not allow her being recorded as head of the household. Many of the programs in the rural areas have been directed exclusively towards men. This non recognition of women's crucial role in the economy has resulted in failures of the program, and at the same time has also contributed to the perpetuation of sexual inequality or even to deterioration of women's position. Adverse or negative effects of development on women's situation may be seen in many areas. For example, improvement in factory laws for better conditions of work has often resulted in retrenchment of work of women workers. Rules regarding retrenchment means when they are employees are discarded from the or fired from the job, that is retrenchment. Rules regarding maternity leave, night shift, and crunch means that laws and norms which essentially relate to the reproductive and child rearing functions of women make the employment of female workers a more expensive proposition for the employers. Decline of female employment in textile mills in India is a case in point. In the capital intense sectors, women are assigned low paid, unskilled jobs and are maintained as a reserved workforce. They are also relegated to jobs in backward sectors of the economy. Women and children are found in large numbers in domestic services, cottage industries, and in the informal sectors in general. Development of capitalist production thus bring greater suffering to women. They are also not given much importance in inheritance and marital relations, residence, and family structure. This development cannot take place in a proper way without considering their above mentioned problems. Only laws should be made for their well beings, but their implementation in the right spirit is also the need of the hour. And development strategies must not take those aspects as given or immutable or that cannot be changed. True development will not be possible unless these aspects are also made targets of change to some extent. But the irony is that problems of women have not turned into a compelling factors because they are not a group. Filling in the gaps between the lawyer's law and the reality is essential for real development. By and large, women's problems do not have a compelling character because women are essentially a category and not a group which can be easily mobilized or stopped. Uh, means a few feminists may wage a war against male, but such an attitude does not take us far. In the Indian context, it would be unrealistic to say that men actors in the social system are wholly responsible for social evils that affect women. In point of fact, women are such responsible for creating obstacles to change. Women are also responsible for their misery. Enlargement uh, enlargement of women's consciousness and investment of social purpose in their lives appear to be prerequisite to development. In the meantime, all forms of inequalities and exploitation will have to be exposed and the women's point of view injected into critical areas of planning and development. So, this was the summary of this. Thank you so much for listening to me.